I'm completely new to this, and honestly, I'm here because my therapist thought it might be a good idea to share my story with people who don't know me, to maybe get some unbiased advice or just to vent a bit. So here goes. My name is Emma. I'm a 42-year-old mom and wife, and I'm probably at the lowest point in my life. I'm sorry if this gets really long, but I feel like I need to get everything out to fully explain how everything unraveled. In October 2020, amid the global craziness, my personal life took a turn for the complex. My husband, who's 44 and a real estate agent, was buried in his work like never before. The housing market was booming unexpectedly, and he was out at all hours dealing with clients, staging homes, and sometimes not coming home until the wee hours of the morning. It was a stressful time for us both, but while he dove into his work, I found myself feeling increasingly isolated and neglected. This is when Jay came into the picture. He was 24, a much younger guy who reached out to me on Instagram. It turned out Jay was the younger brother of a friend I'd gone to high school with, a pretty tenuous connection, but enough to start a conversation. We began chatting casually, just catching up on where life had taken each of us since high school. Though I knew him only by reputation back then, our chats were light and fun, a distraction from the loneliness I felt at home. As the weeks turned into months, those chats became something I looked forward to every day. Jay was easy to talk to, and he seemed genuinely interested in hearing about my life, something I felt I was missing with my husband. Mark buried in his work by April 2021. Jay suggested we meet up, just to catch up in person. I agreed, thinking it harmless, just coffee with an old acquaintance. But when we met, there was an immediate physical attraction that I hadn't anticipated. We met several times over the next few weeks, and by June, our relationship had taken a turn. It became physical. I knew it was wrong, and every time I met him, I would tell myself it would be the last time. Yet, I didn't stop. I was filling a void, and Jay was there, willing to fill it. At home, things with Mark were deteriorating rapidly. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was often a short, sharp exchange over something trivial. I had become critical and harsh, often picking fights over nothing. I withheld affection, turning away from him at night, making excuses to sleep in separate rooms. We were living like roommates, not spouses. Then, in August 2021, Mark's mother, who had always been a challenging part of our marriage due to her disapproval of me, passed away. Mark was devastated, but our relationship was so strained by then that I couldn't find the empathy he needed. I was so caught up in my own issues and resentments that I failed to be there for him. Instead, I grew colder, and in a moment of heated argument, I told him I wanted a divorce. I moved out swiftly, taking our daughter Alice with me. We settled into a small apartment, and I told her that we needed to stay away from Mark because he was having a mental breakdown, a narrative I convinced myself was true to justify my actions. Jay started visiting often. He and Alice bonded over video games, which seemed fine at the time. However, on September 24th, everything came crashing down. Jay made an inappropriate advance towards Alice, who was terrified and managed to call her dad for help. I was unreachable at work, my phone off, which I'll forever regret. By the time I arrived home, the police were there, and Jay was being taken to the hospital after a physical altercation with Mark. The aftermath was a nightmare. Alice was shaken and wouldn't let me touch her. The police, understanding the full context, didn't press charges against Mark, but suggested that my actions had contributed to the family's turmoil. Mark, after confronting me and hearing the full extent of my betrayal, decided to proceed with the divorce and seek full custody of Alice. Since then, I've been cut off completely. Mark has blocked me on all platforms, changed his phone number, and has started to reintegrate Alice into his family, who have welcomed her warmly. My attempts to reach out have been met with silence or outright rejection. In the midst of this, Jay's girlfriend contacted me. I hadn't even known about her, but she was furious, blaming me for breaking up her relationship and wishing my family would break up too. It was a wake-up call to the destruction I had caused. Now, I'm in individual therapy, trying to understand my actions and work through my guilt. I've started reading every book on healing and rebuilding trust that I can get my hands on. I'm trying to mend my relationship with my daughter, who is understandably angry and hurt. I've apologized and tried to explain, but the damage is deep. I'm at a loss. I've destroyed the family I love through a series of selfish decisions. I'm looking for any advice on how to possibly rebuild trust with my daughter, and if there's any hope of salvaging my relationship with Mark. How do you rebuild when everything seems irreparably broken? Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry for the length of this post. I just don't know where else to turn. Story 2. I'm here to give you an update on my life and everything that's been going on. It's been a whirlwind, to say the least, and sharing here feels like a small therapy session in itself. So, buckle up, because there's a lot to unpack. First things first, my husband and I have been working on our communication. It's been rocky, but there's progress. We're taking it one day at a time, focusing on ourselves and our individual growth. Therapy has been a huge part of my life lately, and I've been making some solid gains there. My therapist has been fantastic, giving me tools to help manage my reactions, like not spiraling into anxiety when my husband doesn't immediately respond to texts or calls. This usually happens because he's tied up with work or deep into his writing sessions. I've been diving deep into understanding my insecurities and figuring out exactly what I want from our marriage. It's been eye-opening to really articulate my feelings and needs to my husband. I've reassured him of my love and commitment, emphasizing that I'm fully committed to proving myself and working on being a better version of myself for both our sakes. I've confessed to him about the mistakes I've made in the past and how I'm determined to make things right. Part of that commitment meant throwing myself into the job hunt. I've sent out applications to every caregiving position available, but the market is tough, and I haven't heard back from anyone. Not want to sit back, I expanded my search to include anything and everything. Fast food restaurants, gas stations, office jobs, and retail, especially with the holiday season, hoping that would increase my chances. Despite all this effort, I've hit wall after wall, which has been incredibly disheartening. Living in an area where public transportation is my only option adds another layer of challenge. The bus routes are limited, and getting anywhere substantial means dedicating hours for travel, which isn't always feasible or practical. This limitation has significantly narrowed my job prospects and added to my frustration. Communication with my husband about these challenges has improved. Though we've been having more open and honest conversations about our feelings and the state of our relationship, I recently brought up how sad and left out I felt about not spending holidays together. I expressed my longing for us to be a true family unit again. He challenged me on my efforts, pointing out that not having a job was a sticking point for him. He felt that I needed to prove my commitment to stabilizing our lives by finding employment. I explained my relentless job applications and the constant rejections, hoping he'd understand the extent of my efforts. We eventually came to the mutual understanding that reuniting as a couple might not be in our best interest right now, especially with the financial strain of being the sole provider wearing on him. We agreed to maintain our separation while I worked on securing employment and addressing my personal issues. Amidst these personal challenges, my family faced a serious health crisis. My uncle, who has always been somewhat of a loner, never married and has no kids, was diagnosed with advanced cancer. He lives with our 93-year-old great-aunt and my second cousins, who are quite young. The diagnosis was a blow to everyone, and it brought back a flood of emotions, especially considering how my uncle had transformed his life from battling alcoholism and drug addiction to becoming a responsible, hard-working, and devout man. Feeling a strong need to do something meaningful, I decided to move in with my uncle to help with his care, especially post-chemotherapy. Since I have professional training in oncology care, this decision has given me a sense of purpose and direction at a time when I felt lost in other areas of my life. Taking care of him has been rewarding and has helped me feel grounded. I'm meticulous in managing his diet, ensuring he stays hydrated, and keeping his living space immaculately clean to prevent infections. There's a possibility of being compensated for my caregiving work once my uncle's application for Social Security income, SSI, is processed next month, which could help alleviate some of my financial burdens and prove to my husband that I'm making strides towards self-sufficiency. My husband has been supportive of my decision to care for my uncle, acknowledging the positive impact it's had on my uncle's life and my own mental health. It's one of the few areas where we've found common ground and mutual respect amid our struggles on the spiritual and personal development front. My cousin has been an incredible support. She's introduced me to a new nutritional plan as part of a holistic approach to health, which I'm hoping will help me lose weight and gain energy. This lifestyle change is something I'm really excited about, and it's been nice to have a family member guide me through it. I've also been focusing on managing my anxiety with medication and have continued therapy sessions twice a week, which have been crucial in my mental health journey. The support I've received from my therapist and my cousin has been instrumental in helping me navigate through these tough times. While I haven't gotten back to my writing yet, my doctor and therapist keep reminding me to take things one step at a time. Cooking has become a therapeutic outlet for me, and I've started to experiment with new recipes and flavors, which has brought a lot of joy into my daily routine. So that's where I am right now. Trying to mend my marriage, take care of my family, find a job, and take care of myself, it's a lot. But I'm hopeful that these steps will lead to a better, more stable future. Thanks so much for listening. It means a lot to have a space to share this journey. Story 3, Background. I'm 32, female, married to my husband, a 36-year-old male. We have a son who's 6, male. My husband works at a well-paying job, but it requires tons of effort, which was why he wasn't really attentive to us. If that didn't help, COVID put us in lockdown, and we both put on a lot of weight. Our bedroom became less frequent at that point. This year, I've started attending the gym and eating healthy. I've grown fed up and also made new friends who I started to hang out with twice a week, both male and female. You see, I was an introvert and never really went out or stayed up late. The thrill and excitement of living life to the fullest is beautiful. I also went on a trip against my husband's wishes with my friends and spent a decent amount of money, something he's pissed off about. My husband works 7 to 8 hours a day and also takes care of my son most of the time. His insistence, I'd asked him to visit a gym with me, but he's always refused. Our distance increased this period, and we both weren't aware of it. He began to cook his own meals, didn't even call me like before, or asked where I was going. It's as if he gave up. I noticed this a few times, and I too grew resentful about it, thinking, why wouldn't he just ask me? Why wouldn't he talk to me? 2 months after this, we are currently in August. Our end. He drops the news. He got a promotion. He was worried if he would make it, which is why he was stressed out and couldn't concentrate on other things. He apologized about it and told me he'd make it up for it. Our life started to improve. We started to have sex frequently, but I don't know why I felt disconnected to him. It's as if I wasn't attracted to him anymore. He wasn't overweight or obese. He just put on a few pounds, and I wasn't attracted to him. We planned a date night in September, but it got delayed, my fault, because our son had a high fever. We had to visit my parents, and also, I told him numerous times that I wasn't interested in going on dates with him because I was depressed and needed time. I lied about that. I was just not attracted to him. All my friends and me were fit. I was enjoying the attention I got. So this back and forth went on for the following months. Our bedroom became a battleground again, until last week, when I finally gave in, and after that, we planned a date night. So, it was 4 days ago. We were out. Our son was with his sister. We went out to our favorite place and were talking. I felt lively and relived the old memories again. This was the place we went on our first date. I felt the spark and chemistry again. It was then I happened to stumble upon one of my gym friends. Let's call him T. He was well-built, and he himself was on a date with another woman. He greeted me, and I introduced him to my husband. He told him hi and asked me if we could go out and grab a coffee later on. It was even before my husband had the time to introduce himself properly. He was disrespected by it, and I too was caught off guard. I told him later on, and he left. I noticed my husband was off and pissed, so I asked him if everything was all right. He looked at me and said, I don't think we can do it anymore. I don't think we can do it anymore, my husband said. What do you mean? I asked. I feel like you're cheating on me. You don't take care of the house anymore. The spark is gone. You don't handle our son. You're out without telling me with your friends. You don't even listen to me nowadays, and don't care what I think. You went on the trip I wrote earlier about alone, even though I refused and spent dollars and dollars and dollars. I tried to talk to you, but you don't even have time for me. Christmas is around the corner, and you're not even planning anything for it. What's gotten into you? Okay, it isn't what it looks like. You knew exactly how I was treated before I met you. I was hated by everyone. I was an introvert and never had any friends. I'm sorry you feel like this, but before I could finish, he said, what is going on between you and your friends? You spend more time in the gym and with him than in our home. I don't think I can even take this far. I'm going to be blunt in here. If things are going to be like this, I want a divorce. Hearing this, I get mad, and we get into an argument where I said some very hurtful things to him. He couldn't argue back because we were at a public place, and he valued his reputation more. He just listened. When I was done, he just softly said, "Now he surely wants a divorce too," which I blew up and told him, maybe I should divorce him because he's unfit, and I wasn't attracted to him anymore. After this, he told me not to bother coming home, and he got up, paid, and left with me there. I went to my mom's house, and he didn't even call me. I went to pick up my son, and his sister told me my husband took him earlier. When I went to our house back, he wasn't there. Neither was our son. We didn't even talk after that. I've called him. He hasn't called back or replied to my texts. I apologized and told us we can make it work. I told him I was sorry, offered marriage counseling. I told him I'd cut off my friends and quit the gym. I told them I didn't mean those words. I haven't told my parents about this yet, but they can clearly see something is off because my husband, the man who stood by me all these years, in the worst possible way, and there is no other punishment which is more deadly than in filing for divorce. I want us to work. I'm writing my feelings down in hopes of getting therapy, and I'll be seeing a family friend soon who's a therapist. Meanwhile, I just want to let my husband know I'm sorry, but I can't because he's not replying. People say the opposite of love is indifference, and I'm dying right now. I want him to be mad. I want him to shout at me. I want him to tell me how shitty I am, but I want him to talk to me. I want us to be a family again. At this point, I'm really disgusted with myself. I don't know how I can ever win his trust back, but I need to.